Hey everyone, Sleepy Reader here with another go at some comic book thoughts. This time I'm going to talk for a little bit about Ahoy comics, which all of the Ahoy series I've been reading ended a month or two ago. So my memories might be a little bit fuzzy, but no, mostly I have pretty strong memories of these. And most of all, our a new friend to a bunch of us comic book folk on YouTube is a booktuber named Silje over in Norway was very interested to hear more about Captain Ginger from Ahoy Comics as a cat fan. And if you don't subscribe to Silje, I'm not sure how to... Silje, I believe, is the proper pronunciation of her name. I recommend it if you like someone who likes books and graphic novels and just has a very broad taste in general as a devoted reader. So I've really enjoyed subscribing to her channel anyway. So let's see. Let's take a look at these 3 Ahoy series that I was getting, all of which are now on hiatus. There was Captain Ginger, there was The Wrong Earth, and then there was High Heaven. I'll save Captain Ginger for last, just to be a tease. Let me say a little bit. The first one to come out and the one that went for 6 issues was The Wrong Earth. I don't have issue number 1 here, but I do have read them all. And as I think I've said elsewhere, The Wrong Earth is a delightful take on Batman. It's a very direct take on Batman. There's Dragonfly Man and his sidekick Stinger, I think is his name, and there's Dragonfly and Dragonfly Man actually, and they each come from different universes. And Dragonfly Man's universe is basically like the Batman 66 universe, where all the crimes are non-lethal or almost, and everybody is. It's a kinder, gentler world, but perhaps a more sexist, old-fashioned world, too. They don't go into that too much, but there is a scene where they let off number 2, who's basically like their version of Harley Quinn, because their villain number 1 is a lot like the Joker. They let her off without any jail time because she charms the judges. Anyway, so Dragonfly comes from this uber dark Gotham type of world, and Dragonfly Man is in this light cartoony Adam West world. And some cosmic thing through a mirror, I believe, causes them to switch places, and their number 1s switch places too, their version of the Joker. And you would think that they can't take that too far, but so far they've spun a really interesting, fun read out of it. Something that any Batman fan, superhero comics fan, especially if you're interested in that kind of juxtaposition of different types of superheroes and different eras of superheroes, it's very amusing. I wish they pushed the color a little further. The world of Dragonfly Man is brighter and a little bit more cheerful, but I feel like the colorist could have pushed it a little further. But the line artist is very inventive and always consistent, who is Jamal Igle, a bit of a veteran by now of superhero comics. And the writing by Tom Payer, who's a real long-time veteran in editing and writing, I believe, most associated with DC Comics, is super consistent. He never misses the mark, I feel like. So I'm really admiring Tom Payer's writing here. And one of the interesting developments is as these 2 universes collide a little bit, we see some changes coming over the more cartoony Harley Quinn, the more cartoony number 2, as she's smart and she starts seeing what's going on, and with number 1 out of the picture, she is taking taking on a lot of her own responsibility and own ideas about things. But it's just full of super fun scenes that way. And I thought, well, this is a joke that can last about 6 issues and then should end. And I wonder if they did have an ending planned, but then it sold very well, and so they've extended it, or who knows what was in their plans. But the final issue ends with a very in terms of comic books, it's an expected kind of way to extend the story, but it still was intriguing and kind of hooked me in. And let's just say it turns out there's a third dimension that may become involved in the next season of The Wrong Earth. These covers alone are pretty great, as you can kind of see. And a nice thing about Ahoy Comics is the back cover is the cover without any of the cover trade dress or whatever you call it, just the pure picture. And they're all really nice cover stock, high quality paper, a lot of pages. They always have a main story that's 20 pages long, and then they have a bunch of editorial comment. Then they always have a backup strip. Some of these were from the very cartoony Batman 66 type of world, and then other backup strips were from the grim and down and dirty world. And then, on top of that, they always include some short fiction. And I haven't read all the short fiction in every issue here. They're mostly shorts. They fit on one comic book page, probably the equivalent of 2 or 3 pages in a book. But most of the ones I've read have been extremely good. My favorites have been by this author, Carol Leigh, who is also a cartoonist. And I discovered that some old Captain Carrot comics of mine, where Captain Carrot goes to Alice in Wonderland, were drawn by Carol Leigh. I think she's mostly more an alternative underground cartoonist for newspapers in California. But so they're really good packages for your $3.99, and a pleasure to get in single issues. Although I'm sure the trades will be a fun read too. I'm assuming the trades will have the backup comic strips, but probably not the short stories. And the short stories all stand alone. Have nothing to do with the universe of the book they appear in. They're just bonus things. The only short stories I really didn't like were the ones written by Grant Morrison, I'm afraid. I didn't really get through those ones. So, and another series that they had, which went 5 issues for its first season, was called High Heaven. I've discussed it before. This cover's kind of unpleasant to look at, although it fits the story certainly. It's the story of this schlubby guy who all he ever does is complain and whine and just generally not a person that anyone would like to hang out with. And he ends up going to heaven, and no one in heaven wants to hang out with him. And heaven itself is kind of a low rent heaven where you have roommates and dormitories, and you have no genitals, and I think you eat really boring food and things like that. And he's kind of rebelling against that, and he's slowly, through these 5 issues, kind of learning. He tries to get to hell, in fact, but he's learning about kind of the inner politics of heaven and how they lowered their standards because of some political stuff going on with the angels and such. God himself or itself does not appear directly here, but a lot of angels do. And I don't take this to be a true religious commentary or critique of Christianity or any other form of religion, so much as just goofing on all the mythology surrounding angels and heaven and such. Now this one, initially I read, was only going to be, I think, 4 issues, or maybe it was 5. But clearly they plan to continue it to another season again. And the ending of this 5th, although I loved I loved this series. I thought it was hilarious. I loved the art. I loved the color, the writing. Again, written by Tom Payer. I just thought it was a really unique thing that only in kind of the world of alternative comics are you going to find a story like this. Very brazen and willing to, just go with their gimmick and not pull back or hold back on anything. It does. You kind of don't want it to go on too long because the characters aren't likable, right? So anyway, but they clearly sort of shoehorned in a pausing moment at the end that's sort of like an ending, but really leaves in space for the next chapter. But we're kind of I don't want to give anything away beyond that, but the character's kind of in a spot where he seems to be kind of stuck, but we know that something more could happen. Some angel could come along or whatever. So if you see Higher Heaven in trade, I think it'd be a lot of fun to read. It's nice that all of this stuff has been very successful, as far as small indie comics go. I think several of their comics have gone back to second printings and the like. I'm sure funding is still tricky even for small successes of this. So hopefully whatever money is behind this lasts and the company keeps going. Because what they're doing now is all of this first wave of books are on hiatus, and they're doing another wave of books which don't initially look as promising to me, although I had no high hopes for High Heaven when I initially got it. But originally The Wrong Earth immediately appealed to me. And when I heard about Captain Ginger, that kind of immediately got my interest. And Captain Ginger only went 4 issues. And it offers more of a kind of complete story, I would say. Because it's like Star Trek. It's like to super simplify it, because it's not, that really takes away a lot from it to say it's like Star Trek with cats. But the cats have evolved with probably the help of some human technology, but now all the humans are gone. They were wiped out by some alien race. And now these cats who are evolved are trying to figure out all the human technology, figure out how to defend themselves against the alien race that destroyed humanity. Just generally figuring out how to work together as a team. Because the wonderful thing about this is they're anthropomorphized to an extent, but they're very cat-like. And cats don't work together well. It's not easy for cats to team up. They're territorial creatures. And they also have lots of non-artificially evolved cats busy breeding on the spaceship. So they have all these problems and mysteries to solve. And when I read the first issue, it was very dense. It was a very dense read, and I enjoyed it well enough. But in a way, I guess it was a lot of setup for the situation, and it was only with the later issues that I really started clicking with all these characters and all their little conflicts, and even like cats really are, they're appealing and cute, but they also have all kinds of issues. And cats are like, they're not neurotic like human beings, but they are kind of neurotic in a way. So nothing's perfect here. Nothing works smoothly. There's always conflict. And so the whole thing has unspooled very nicely. It's written by Stuart Moore, who's a vaguely familiar name to me. I feel like maybe he was a Vertigo writer. I'm not sure. And then the artist is someone named June Brigman, who I think once did comics and has now come back to comics after maybe a career in other commercial art areas. And, she really sells the visuals of all the cats. And in my usual complaints, I wish the colors were a little brighter. Areas like this here, they pop out more when I look up at my computer screen there than when I'm looking down on the page. Things get grayed out here a bit. It's a minor quibble, and a lot of the pages look quite nice. I suppose they would all look even better digitally because of the way color works these days. But yeah, this is the one of all of them, looking forward most to the next volume, because I appreciate the fact that the story stood alone, but it makes me want more. It makes me want another adventure of this gang of cats to see what happens next. Um, People die, or cats die. Cats live. They move on. They form and break up alliances. So it's pretty awesome stuff. Yeah. I'm trying to, it's been quite a while since I read the last issue of this. There is a very cool kind of, now that I'm looking at it, I suddenly remember, 2001 type of Star Child moment, only it happens with a cat where it gets super evolved. And that could have been really cheesy, but it, despite its weird cutesiness, it really worked. It really clicked for me. It was, it had that Arthur C. Clarke childhood end kind of vibe to it. Both a beautiful, happy thing and a tragic, sad thing all at once. They try this kind of thing in Star Trek a lot, but I actually found it more effective here than in a lot of the Star Trek versions of someone kind of evolving so far beyond humanity that they dissipate into the universe. And it helped wrap things up nicely. I guess a Deus Ex Machina, but a Deus Ex Machina in a very satisfying, well done way. The two upcoming Ahoy comics that I know about are called World of Nerds, about some 1980s nerds who time travel to our time and discover that now the world is a world of nerds, which I'm not too excited about that. And then another one that, what's it called? It has a similar title to a Dark Horse comic coming out soon. I don't know if they reference these comics in the back here. No, I don't see it. What's this? Hashtag Danger. I haven't read all of the hashtag Danger ones. And that they're also these backup strips are going to come out as a comic book. And we'll see. Well, this is not the final one. This is number 3. Let's see if number 4 gives us a clue of the upcoming ones. We'll see. I was not thrilled by. I only read some of the hashtag Danger backups. Maybe I'll go back and try to read them all and decide whether I want to get the hashtag Danger comic. It's kind of Fantastic Four, Challengers of the Unknown-ish, and it looks like it's kid-friendly, but the language is not quite so kid-friendly in hashtag Danger. I think Captain Ginger would work fine for slightly older kids, not 5 and 6 year olds and such, unfortunately, because it's a bit intense. But 10 and up, I would say, 8 or 9 and up, depending on the child. And Higher Heaven, definitely not for kids. A lot of adult stuff going on in there. And The Wrong Earth. The Wrong Earth has some disturbing stuff in it, so only for a kid who can take that kind of moments of violence and disturbingly evil characters from the evil universe. Let's see here. Do they give us? I'm sorry, the one that I have not gotten and I want to hunt down is the Edgar Allan Poe's Snifter of Terror, which has been short stories. Wait, next issue. Well, anyway, and we'll have to see what the next round of Ahoy comics are. I do kind of, on the surface, think they're not nearly as exciting as what we had in this first round. But I hope that they continue to come on strong so that we see the next iterations of these. We're told in all of these that they're working on the next chapters, but it sounds like they're going to wait 6 months or more for the next, excuse me, burping, for the next chapters to come out. And I think maybe the trades aren't coming out for a while, so those might not be coming out till the spring. Anyway, I'm a big fan now of Ahoy Comics, and I'm tending to err on the side of assuming they know what they're doing because they've done such a great job so far. And they're a comic book company that is really giving the purchasers of single issues a great deal, and really cares about giving us a lot of good content. So they're well worth supporting in individual issues as more comics come out. If you like to get things in floppies at all, they're a company to go with. Okay, thanks for bearing with me and all my stumbling about here. Someone in my last video asked if I remember comic books after I read them, and sometimes it gets fuzzy because I'm reading so many, and I start flipping through them as I do here, and it starts coming back to me. But I hope this was helpful. Talk to y'all later.